You know, John Wanamaker famously said, "Half the money I spend on advertising is wasted. The trouble is, I don't know which half," right? It's literally one of the most famous, or maybe infamous, dilemmas in business history. We all know we're spending money on marketing, but we don't always know exactly what we're getting back in hard, measurable returns. Well, today we're going to change that narrative completely. Welcome to this explainer on the ROI Architect, measuring marketing performance. We are going to explain the details of these topics so that by the time we're done, you'll have the exact blueprint to transform all that marketing ambiguity into absolute financial certainty. Okay, let's dive right into this. Ask yourself, are your marketing dollars an expense or are they an investment? Now, I know that sounds like pure semantics, but it's actually a massive foundational mindset shift. See, when you treat marketing as just a simple expense, it's kind of just a line item dragging down your P&L, right? It's just money going out the door. But when you treat it as an investment, it becomes a literal growth engine that compounds value over time. You demand a return. You demand to definitively prove the financial value of every single dollar you deploy. And that's exactly what this explainer is all about, equipping you with the specific analytical skills to prove that exact value. So here is our architect's blueprint for today. We're going to start by laying the foundation. Then we'll build out the framework, move on to measuring revenue, and finally, we'll wrap up with some really handy operational formulas. Let's jump right into phase one. Let's move to the first part and see how this builds. Part one is the foundation, defining baseline metrics. Because look, before we can accurately measure performance, we have to establish exactly what our foundational metrics even are. And our very first foundational block is the actual mathematical definition of marketing ROI. And hey, it's not just a buzzword, it's a very specific calculation. At its core, marketing ROI is simply the net profit generated directly by your marketing efforts divided by your total marketing investment. Think about it like this. If you spend $100,000 on a campaign and it generates $150,000 in net new profit, boom, your ROI is 50%. Honestly, without a crystal clear understanding of this specific mathematical formula, you're basically flying blind. It's the absolute bedrock metric that proves whether your whole strategic architecture is actually financially viable. Following right alongside that calculation is the marketing audit. You see, you literally cannot build a new, highly efficient strategy without thoroughly auditing where your current metrics stand. A proper marketing audit really forces you to scrutinize your historical spend, your conversion rates, and your channel performance. We're not just looking at the pretty creatives here. We are digging deep into the data. You're actively searching for what is structurally sound, things like high-converting landing pages or really sticky email sequences, while at the same time identifying those inefficient campaigns that just need to be completely torn down and rebuilt from scratch. Okay, moving on to section 2, the framework, focusing on tracking tools and workflow. Now that the foundation is poured, we transition to the proactive tools and workflows we actually need to manage the money. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is that it shows the literal chronological workflow of a marketing dollar. Step 1 is budgeting. This is where you strategically allocate your resources based on all that historical data we just talked about. Then step 2 is projecting. You don't just spend the budget and cross your fingers, right? You use historical data and market trends to forecast exactly what that spend should yield in terms of leads and revenue. And finally, step 3, tracking expenses and ROI. This is where you monitor your active campaigns in your CRM or your analytics dashboard, constantly comparing your actual real-time results against the projections you made back in step 2. It's a continuous, dynamic loop. Which brings us to section 3, measuring revenue, or what we can call the finished structure. This is where we identify the critical metrics that finally put a roof on our house and close the loop on our performance. And this brilliantly illustrates the balancing act every effective marketing manager has to pull off. It's the two sides of the ROI coin. On the expense side, you are rigorously tracking your customer acquisition cost, your raw ad spend, agency fees, overhead, the whole shebang. But expenses only tell half the story. The absolute critical revenue side metrics require you to track things like customer lifetime value, average order value, and long-term retention rates. Look at it this way. If you only track expenses, you're basically just an accountant looking at sunk costs. But if you only look at revenue, you're completely ignoring your actual profit margins. True marketing architecture is all about maintaining a highly profitable, sustainable ratio between what it costs to acquire a customer and what that customer is worth over their lifetime. All right, let's wrap things up with section 4, operational formulas. This is the manager's toolkit, because every good ROI architect needs a solid set of tools to keep their marketing house in order. So the crucial point here is that understanding the theory is really just the beginning. At the end of the day, you've got to run the numbers. This toolkit includes vital everyday calculations. Take the customer acquisition cost formula, or CAC.
That's just your total sales and marketing spend divided by the number of new customers you brought in during that specific period. Then there's the customer lifetime value formula, or LTV, which you calculate by multiplying your average purchase value by the average customer lifetime. And of course, you absolutely need to know your return on ad spend, or ROAS, which simply divides your campaign revenue directly by your ad spend. These are the real, specific, mathematical tools you're going to use to confidently defend your budget, predict future outcomes, and ruthlessly optimize your daily operations.
So, I'll leave you with this provocative question. Is your marketing actually ready for a true, rigorous audit? Take a really close look at your own ecosystem tomorrow morning. Are you equipped to calculate every single dollar going in and every single dollar coming out? Do you have those specific operational formulas in place for budgeting, projecting, and tracking? My challenge to you is to apply these formulas, demand a strict return on your investment, and keep building that foundation. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer today, and I'll see you next time.